Let's get started with our first news. Daniel Cormier's truck got stolen. Can you even believe that? Stolen right from the San Jose airport while he was over in Vegas doing his job, commentating for UFC 317. Talk about the worst timing ever. He actually broke the news himself on X. He posted, "This is some real shit, man. Thank you to the San Jose PD who are all over this." You could practically feel the frustration oozing off the screen. Apparently, just last week he'd been thinking about this exact thing. He said he'd been driving the same kind of vehicle since 2018, Raptors, over and over, so he figured it was time for a change. You know how it is. You get tired of the same car after a few years and want something new, something different, maybe a bit flashier or more comfortable. So he pulls the trigger, buys a brand new ride. But here's the kicker, he only had this new car for 4 days. That's it. Imagine buying something you've been looking forward to, something that's supposed to be a reward for all your hard work, and it just vanishes before you've even really gotten to enjoy it. He leaves for Vegas to do his commentary gig, feeling good about the new car, probably thinking it'll be waiting for him right where he parked it. But when he flies back in, that's when the nightmare starts. He's walking up and down the parking structure, pressing the key fob over and over, expecting to hear the horn beep or see the lights flash. Nothing happens. You know that sinking feeling when you start thinking, wait, did I park on the wrong level? Or am I losing my mind? But then the realization hits. It's not there. It's gone. He talks to airport staff, hoping that maybe there's a simple explanation. Maybe it was towed. Maybe he really did forget where he parked. But they look up his license plate and just tell him flat out, your car was driven out of the parking structure on Thursday night. Someone literally stole his truck right out of the airport lot. You can practically hear Daniel in your head going, "God damn it, unbelievable." You don't expect that to happen at a major airport with supposed security. It's the kind of story that really makes you question how safe those parking garages really are. But credit where it's due, the San Jose Police Department apparently jumped on it quickly. Daniel was pissed, and rightfully so, but he did thank them for being all over it. You can tell the frustration was 100% real, no sugarcoating it. 4 days into owning that new car and someone just drives off with it like it's theirs. Absolutely infuriating. Now, moving on to another story that really caught people's attention over the weekend. Tom Aspinall gave fans a cool little gift when he posted a behind-the-scenes video from UFC 317. But this wasn't just your standard walking to the arena kind of footage. It actually included a conversation he had with Ilia Topuria right there in the crowd. You could see it was an authentic moment between two of the sport's biggest names. This all went down right after Jon Jones had officially announced his retirement. It was a seismic moment for the sport. Jon stepping away and leaving behind a huge legacy. Meanwhile, Tom Aspinall was stepping up as the new undisputed UFC heavyweight champion. The timing was wild. It felt like a real passing of the torch for the division, even though they never fought. In the clip, you could see the mutual respect written all over their faces. There wasn't any forced fake sportsmanship. It was real. Izzy told Tom directly that his next win should absolutely count as a title defense. For a champion like Adesanya to say that to you, someone who knows exactly what it means to carry the pressure of defending a belt, that's huge. And Tom clearly appreciated it. You could see him nodding, smiling, just soaking in the moment. There was this genuine vibe between them. They were just two elite athletes sharing a moment of understanding that only fighters at that level can really get. There's a certain respect that comes with having stood in that octagon under the brightest lights, dealing with all the pressure, all the expectations, all the media, all the fans. It's a bond most people will never understand. What's really cool about moments like this is how they cut through all the trash talk. Sure, MMA is known for its hype and heated rivalries. Sometimes it feels like half the sport is guys calling each other out, throwing insults, and selling fights with bad blood. And don't get me wrong, that's part of what makes it so entertaining. But there's also this other side to MMA, the one where fighters truly respect each other's accomplishments, where they recognize the sacrifice, the training, the danger. That's what this conversation captured so perfectly. It wasn't about who's better, who's tougher, who can sell more pay-per-views. It was simply one champion acknowledging another, saying, "Yeah man, you deserve this. You're the real deal." Fans love seeing that side of the sport. It reminds everyone that behind all the chaos, these guys share a unique brotherhood. Even when they're rivals, they're also peers who know exactly what it takes to reach the top and stay there. Alright, now let's shift to another headline that's really been buzzing and getting people talking. Ilia Topuria had quite the response to Dana White being unhappy about his face-off with Paddy Pimblett. If you somehow missed the drama, here's the quick version. After his big win, Ilia literally called Paddy into the cage for a heated in-your-face moment. You could feel the tension immediately. It wasn't some casual handshake or friendly challenge. It was intense. These two have a long history of trash talk and bad blood, so the energy was off the charts. But while fans absolutely loved it, Dana was, let's just say, not thrilled. When asked about the face-off at the post-fight press conference, Dana didn't hold back. He straight up said, "I don't know who the hell let him in there. That should have never happened. If I was there, it wouldn't have happened." Apparently, Dana was already back in his room when the face-off happened, so it kind of slipped through the cracks security-wise. You can just imagine Dana watching it later on replay, shaking his head, probably muttering curses under his breath. But if Dana was frustrated, Ilia didn't seem to care at all. He's still completely adamant that Paddy is the fight he wants next. He was asked directly in interviews if that's the fight he wants more than anything else, and without hesitation he said yes, no beating around the bush, that's the fight he wants. What's interesting is how honest Ilia was about his last opponent. He admitted he actually had a hard time fighting Charles Oliveira because he genuinely likes the guy. He described Charles as an amazing human being, someone you can't hate even if you try. He said Charles is always surrounded by family, friends, teammates. You could tell there was real respect there. Ilia basically explained that with Charles, he just had to treat it like business. It was competition. He had to do his job and that was it. But with Paddy, Ilia didn't even try to hide it. He made it crystal clear he's going to enjoy kicking Paddy's ass. You could practically hear the grin in his voice as he said it. There's no love lost there, no hesitation, no apology. He was also called out on the fact that he'd previously said Paddy needed to win one more fight first. Why the change of heart? Ilia owned it. He said he was just really excited that night. He also admitted that someone on his team told him Dana was angry about the whole thing, but Ilia kind of shrugged it off and said, yeah, but he wasn't there, so maybe it had to happen. The bottom line, Ilia doesn't seem too worried about ruffling feathers or making friends. He knows what he wants, and right now that's Paddy in the cage with nowhere to run. Meanwhile, in another moment that went viral, a Charles Oliveira fan posted footage of him and his friends watching UFC 317, and right before the finish, the stream froze. This is one of those nightmare scenarios for fight fans. They're all hyped, watching every move. Then boom, stream cuts out. You hear the panic in their voices. Oh no, it's messing up my stream. Turn it off, dude, what the, oh my god. There's genuine horror as they're fumbling for the remote, trying to fix it. The room is just chaos. Someone's screaming, "This is way too long. Where's the remote? No. There's applause and cursing mixed together. It's actually hilarious in hindsight. Then when the fight's already over, they're left going, what did we miss? What did we miss? Honestly, you can't help but feel for them, even as you laugh. That's the worst moment for a stream to fail. They missed the KO. All they had was the crowd noise in the background. Unbelievable. Speaking of reactions, let's talk about Sean O'Malley and his live response to Ilia Topuria's devastating knockout of Charles Oliveira. O'Malley is never one to hold back, and this was no different. Remember, he actually called out Ilia after beating Chito Vera at UFC 299, but after seeing what Ilia did in the octagon at UFC 317, he was basically thankful that call-out didn't go anywhere. His reaction was pure gold. You could hear it in his voice. Holy shit, was that a 232? Holy, thank God he didn't accept my call out. Ilia is a superstar. Holy. You can tell he was genuinely shook. It wasn't just hype talk or playing it up for the camera. He was stunned at how quickly and violently Ilia ended things. Sean even admitted he was hoping the fight would have more sick scrambles. You know, those wild grappling exchanges that make Emma so fun to watch. But Ilia didn't give anyone time for that. He just ended it fast. He landed a perfect right hand, knocked Charles out, and then the left hook just made it even worse. What made this even better was Sean's honesty. It was actually refreshing to hear. You could hear the respect in his voice. There was no ego about it, no pretending he'd have done better. He just flat out admitted it was crazy. You don't often hear top-level fighters openly sounding so relieved that they dodged a matchup, but that's exactly what he sounded like. It really says a lot about how much Ilia's stock has exploded. Overnight, he went from a dangerous contender to a full-on superstar in the sport. But it wasn't just O'Malley reacting to the chaos. Khamzat Chimaev also went live on Instagram after UFC 317. It was a quick 5-minute session, but it was enough to get fans hyped. He talked about his upcoming title fight with Dricus Du Plessis at UFC 319. Of course, he couldn't ignore Ilia's wild knockout win over Oliveira either. The part that really caught everyone's attention was when a fan asked him directly about the DDP fight. Khamzat just looked over at his team, gave that trademark grin, and said, "We're going to smash Dricus." Classic Khamzat. No games, no polite answers, just a direct warning to the champ. He's not coming to squeak out a decision. He's coming to dominate. And that's exactly the kind of energy the UFC needs right now. With John Jones retiring and Alex Pereira losing to Magomed Ankalaev, there's a real vacuum at the top when it comes to bankable superstar level fighters. Ilia's performance showed he might be ready to fill that gap, and Khamzat knows if he delivers against DDP, especially with an emphatic brutal win, he could be the next global megastar. The UFC needs fresh blood at the top. They need big personalities who can sell out arenas and deliver unforgettable fights. UFC 319 could be the night Khamzat takes that next step and truly takes over. Khamzat's live session after UFC 317 was classic him, unfiltered, direct, and full of raw respect. He even took a moment to congratulate all Georgians on Ilia Topuria's massive victory. He said, "Congratulations to all Georgians for this great victory. You have a world champion in yet another weight class. A double champ. You guys made history today." You could really hear the sincerity in his voice. There was genuine respect there. He wasn't just hyping things up for the camera. He knows exactly what it takes to reach that level, and he wasn't afraid to show love for someone who did it in spectacular fashion. Khamzat didn't stop there. He went on to call Ilia a monster and said he's a great guy. Then he dropped that line everyone's been repeating: "Unbelievable knockout. Ilia is a machine. Ilia Machina." He even gave it that little Islam Makhachev style twist at the end, which was actually pretty cool to see. It's rare to watch top level fighters show that kind of camaraderie and respect, especially considering they could end up facing each other down the line. These reactions, from Khamzat to Sean O'Malley and so many others, just prove one thing: Ilia Topuria is now the guy everyone's watching. His knockout of Charles Oliveira wasn't just a win, it was a statement, the kind of statement that ripples through the entire division, forcing everyone to take notice and adjust their plans. The way he handled Oliveira, who is a legend in his own right, was downright scary. This wasn't just raw power, it was about precision, timing, composure under pressure. He didn't rush it or get sloppy. He picked his shots and ended it brutally clean. You just don't see that very often at this level, especially from someone who was still being labeled as the new guy. And you better believe the UFC noticed. They're going to push him hard now. He's got everything they want in a star. He's marketable, dangerous, charismatic. He's got that killer instinct that sells pay-per-views and packs arenas. And let's talk about those fighter reactions. When you have someone like O'Malley openly saying, "Thank God he didn't accept my call out," or Khamzat calling him a machine, that's a different level of hype. It's one thing when fans get excited. It's another when your peers, the other elite killers in the sport, are giving you that level of respect and even a hint of fear. That's how you know you've arrived. So yeah, UFC 317 wasn't just another event on the calendar. It was the night the entire landscape shifted a little. Ilia Topuria went from being the next big thing to being the big thing. And with John Jones gone, there's a vacuum at the top. Maybe Ilia's the guy to carry that torch. Maybe it's Khamzat if he smashes DDP at UFC 319. Maybe it'll be both. Either way, the next year or two in the UFC is going to be absolutely wild. Fight fans have so much to look forward to. If you're not paying attention, you're gonna miss out on history being made. So buckle up, because the new era is here, and it's looking absolutely electric.